What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Monday, July 13th. Now in today's dog video, we have to talk about the end and death of BIP 110. Now over the weekend, this group and this community of cult leaders have absolutely been scrutinized, exploited, and completely exposed for what they've been doing. And you'll see a lot of the headlines that have been covering this regarding data, because the data tells you there is absolutely no support for BIP 110. It's absolutely a false narrative, and this has allowed for Dog and Runes to gain a huge spotlight within this whole censorship war. You have to understand why Dog and Runes is set to do so well this year, given the fact that we even have Michael Saylor defending the Runes Ordinals ecosystem. So let's dive deep into it. Let's not waste any time. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or emails. Please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. So currently right now, Dog's at around a 61 million market cap. Now, to no surprise, Dog is still beneath the 50-day moving average line, which is the green line. Look how many days it's been. It's been around like 8 to 9 days of Dog beneath this line. But notice that that line can't hold Dog down forever. Eventually, it needs to break out. When you see this much rejection of Dog price hitting the 50-day moving average line, that means there's going to be a spring of action that's going to happen for Dog. Eventually, it's going to spring out of nowhere. We just don't know exactly when. But until then, you're going to see a lot of rejections, a lot of dips below the 50-day moving average line. Now, before we begin the video, I want to give you all a shout out. Ladies and gentlemen, today, Monday, July 13th, we have concluded the Dog fundraiser. Over 60 Dog members contributed to this cause. That's roughly around 73 contributions overall. And the total actually surpassed our goal. We wanted just 20 million Dog in order to have 2 more years of Dog analysis, Dog research, wallet tracking, investigations, alpha, you name it. And we surpassed it to 22.42 million. Now, over the past 24 hours, that's been kind of crazy. And I want to thank the people that have contributed over the past 24 hours. That is Bitcoin Keys, John Wick, Lemon King, Ski Dizzle, Halt, and also an anonymous donor who has requested not to be mentioned. Now, the top 3 donors are Bitcoin Keys, who receives their 2-ounce silver medallion, John Wick, who receives a 1-on-1 Dog Pizza Ninja, and we also have Lemon King, who's going to receive his 2 Runestone Ordinals, which makes him qualify for 2 more airdrops from Leonidas himself once those airdrops do happen. Now, I want to mention to everybody that if you've donated, you will be recognized permanently in our videos, meaning for the next 2 months, you will be featured at the end credits of every single Dog video. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. This actually takes a community to do something like this. For the past 2 years, I've been volunteering to make as many videos as I can to be best informative, to educate everybody, and become the most smartest, brightest, and most informed people within this space, especially within this emerging ecosystem on Bitcoin known as Runes, known as Ordinals, fungible tokens on Bitcoin. We're going to talk about all this because Michael Saylor has something to say regarding this emerging ecosystem at the very end of the video. So with that said, again, thank you so much. This is a huge success. So thank you, thank you. Now, let's talk about BIP 110. Now, this has just happened over the past 5 days. So we've had a few people talk about BIP 110. Say for instance, we have Marshall Mixing and Kate Parkman. They're discussing why this proposal from BIP 110 to filtering out Ordinals and Runes will not pass, based on the current state of Bitcoin consensus. And what that basically means is the overall Bitcoin ecosystem is based on consensus, which means that it takes a large group of people around the world, not just a few individuals, that determine the decentralization and also the pathway and roadmap of where Bitcoin's going to go. So that's what consensus pretty much means. But they're saying that this BIP 110 does not have consensus. It's only within a finite group of people that are trying to pretty much control Bitcoin, control transactions, which is not what Satoshi Nakamoto wanted. Now, look at the BIP 110 signaling status. So yesterday, we just noticed, and especially shout out to JDog that spotted this, he noticed that there was a signaling rate of 0%. Now, it's 1% at the time of this recording, but it dropped to 0%, and that's really bad. Meaning, Within the 125 blocks at this time was screenshotted, there was no support for miners, meaning they weren't showing their support to signaling any blocks for this specific proposal. And it caught a lot of headlines, like really quickly. So CoinDesk covered this and it said Bitcoin's BIP 110 fork deadline nears, which is around August 7th through 8th, with miner support at 0. And it's absolutely true. Then you have Michael Saylor out of nowhere saying this 2 days ago. And by the way, he never talks about BIP 110 publicly, but this is what he had to say. So there are 110 things more dangerous to Bitcoin than spam. If you don't know what spam is, this is what basically the BIP 110 people, Bitcoin Knots people, call ordinals and runes on top of Bitcoin. They call it spam. So BIP 110 turns a spam dispute into a consensus change that would invalidate some currently valid fee-paying transactions. Meaning, if BIP 110 were to pass, that means what if there is somebody just sending Bitcoin to another person around the world? Well, BIP 110 would most likely invalidate those transactions, causing much confusion. When they think that they're actually preventing spam, they're actually preventing people around the world from accidentally not getting their money. So that precedent is the danger. We should save our energy for threats that really matter. And what he's talking about is quantum computing. Unchained made a report about this just yesterday, and they added also that BIP 110 has quote unquote no community support and node adoption still sits in the low single digits. The reason that's really important, Unchained by the way, and also Laura Shin, they do their research. They aren't spitting out false data or misinformation or fake news. The reason that's important is because the BIP 110 people will tell you that BIP 110 has node adoption, that it has signaling. And that's the problem, is that they're actually lying. And that's not good when people are being inauthentic. You want to know what's really crazy? When I was checking out some of the main voices behind BIP 110 and Bitcoin Knots, they all blocked me. Now, what's really crazy is that I don't even talk to these people. Now, maybe I've mentioned Luke Das Jr.'s name, but I don't know Grass-Fed Bitcoin or 1914 Ad or AK Softwork Mechanic. I don't know these guys. I've never talked to them, but I realize they blocked me. So what is the kind of common thread between all these people? They block out the truth. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to hear people's feedback. And this goes back to consensus, because consensus isn't created by limiting the discussion, by not having the discussion. It's earned by allowing ideas to withstand public scrutiny. That's how Bitcoin has always evolved. So for example, Leonidas, the creator of the dog token, and also the creator of the runestone ordinals. Now, he's been pretty open to debate on X. He's been pretty open to debate, period, on Spaces. And the thing is, nobody from this community wants to talk to Leonidas, and mainly it's because they don't like to debate. They know they'll be called out for some of the things that they're trying to fight for within this BIP 110. They don't want to be questioned. So when they live in this bubble, they just lock themselves away from the truth, hearing feedback. And that's the problem. This is not what consensus looks like. This is what we call a cult that literally gets their followers to make them believe something and say, we're going to Valhalla. I'll lead you to the promised land. Follow me. And that's the dangerous thing. So someone actually had something to say about this. His name is Sully. Now Sully is on the upper right hand side. Now he did some sentiment analysis research regarding BIP 110 people and anti-BIP 110 people. And based on his sentiment analysis, this is basically what he said, is that the pro BIP 110 conviction has apparently been extremely low since October of 2025 and still declining. While people who are anti-BIP 110, their conviction apparently has been growing ever since then, such as Michael Saylor, Adam Back, and also people like you and I, and also Bitcoin maxis, OGs, who don't believe in censorship or having a soft fork of Bitcoin. They like Bitcoin where it is right now. And the reason why Bitcoin is the way that it is because you have to look at what Satoshi had mentioned when he first created Bitcoin, right? So if you think about it, Satoshi replied to one of these other people regarding support for third-party transactions. Satoshi says, quote unquote, I also support a third transaction type for timestamp hash size arbitrary data. Now remember, BIP 110 is all about eliminating non-monetary and arbitrary data. Meaning if it's not Bitcoin, if it's not monetary data that's being transferred in and out, that means BIP doesn't want to support it, or BIP 110 doesn't want to support it. But it goes against what Satoshi Nakamoto stands for. Remember, Bitcoin is not just a currency. It's not just a store of value. It is also a database. It is a blockchain. That's how Ethereum, Solana, and all these other blockchains and layer ones were created. It's because they were inspired by the technology of Bitcoin's database, by its blockchain. Here's another one. So this one is also from Satoshi, and this is a reply in regards to transactions and scripts. Now he says, because of that, I wanted to design it to support every possible transaction type I could think of. And more importantly, check this out on the very bottom. The design supports a tremendous variety of possible transaction types that I designed years ago. He's talking about escrow transactions, bonded contracts, third-party arbitration, multi-party signatures, or multi-sig. The reason this is important is because we are seeing that Satoshi designed Bitcoin to be more than just the currency and store of value. He wanted there to be the technology behind Bitcoin to support all things on-chain forever, because Bitcoin is forever. And this is why DOG runs on Satoshi's own rules. From Satoshi's no privilege issuer, it really aligns with DOG's 100% free and fair air launch. And also, if you think about the Frick's credible supply, so is DOG. It can't be inflated. It's set at 100 billion DOG tokens. From peer to peer, no intermediary person, and this is true because DOG is native Bitcoin UTXO models. Because it doesn't have UTXO bloating, it's literally built just like Bitcoin. In fact, DOG's actually contributed to much of the transactions that have been happening on Bitcoin. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, because if you think about how Satoshi's documented principle followed fees, fees fund long-term security. We're going to talk about that. That's what Satoshi said. And then if you think about DOG transfers. If you send, receive, those transactions are fees for miners. They pay the miners to stick around. Then when you think about data in blocks, since block 0, which was Satoshi's documented principle, that also aligns for DOG's permissionless by design. These are both aligned, ladies and gentlemen, Satoshi and DOG itself. And speaking of those non-monetary transactions, this is the non-monetary transactions in the past 24 hours. They make up 88.6% of transactions on the Bitcoin network. This is a mix of runes and also alkanes. As you know, alkanes also mint some of their tokens. I think it's Diesel that uses uncommon goods to mint transactions. So if they're minting Diesel, they're also minting uncommon goods. They're kind of like paired together. But nonetheless, runes are in the headlines, right? This is what's so important, is that these fees are super important to Bitcoin. And this is why I'm going to play this video right now really quick, because you need to understand how Michael Saylor called this out years ago, that Bitcoin is immutable. Bitcoin is inclusive, meaning people can join in from around the world. Ordinals are a feature, not a bug. Fungible tokens, which he mentions in this clip, like runes, will exist. Transaction fees will secure miners in the future. The free market, not gatekeepers like BIP 110 and Bitcoin Knots, decide what succeeds. Satoshi created the Bitcoin network. Saylor envisioned where it was going. So I'm going to play this clip right now.
My observations on ordinals are they're indicative of new applications that are forming on the Bitcoin base layer. And I think that anybody that wants to inscribe anything, anybody that wants to timestamp, hash stamp, create a fungible token, create a non-fungible token, or find an immutable shared ledger is staring at Bitcoin saying, this is the commodity, this is the asset without the issuer, this is the one network that the regulators aren't going to shut down. So I think that what happened with ordinals and NFTs is we crossed this chasm from what was a bearish scenario to a bullish scenario. If I was a miner, I would be ecstatic. And I think that as that transaction demand increases, it's going to drive miner rewards. It's going to, when the transaction fees are greater than block rewards, when they're material and they're growing faster than the hash rate, then Bitcoin mining is going to be a great business. The network is going to be most successful if we are inclusive. And if our message is hundreds of governments, tens of thousands of banks, millions of corporations, and billions of families, and billions of people, they're all able to use Bitcoin however they wish. Let them do it. The winners will win, right? The bad ideas will lose. And ultimately, I believe that the transaction fees on the Bitcoin base layer will outstrip the block rewards. And when the transaction fees outstrip the block rewards, people will be paying for an immutable document and an indestructible message forever.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That pretty much sums up the video. You understand how Dog is at the center of Bitcoin, is at the center of all these discussions. Dog is the flagship rune on the Runes protocol on top of Bitcoin. It does not have any UTXO bloating within the Bitcoin network. It only contributes fees to miners. As Michael Saylor had just mentioned, is that over time, when block rewards are going to be the end, roughly around 2140, transaction fees will be the thing that sustain Bitcoin over time. And miners will make a ton of money, and their business will make a ton of money based on this. Dog in the Runes protocol is forming the model, the business model within Bitcoin, other than just a store of value, that the network itself is secured forever. Dog is forever. You are forever, the community out there. And this is why, again, I would like to thank everybody who's contributed to the Dog fundraiser. Again, all of you will be featured at the end of every single Dog video for the next 2 months, every single donor in this video. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This journey has only begun. And for the next 2 years, we're going to be covering everything Dog, everything Runes. We're going to document every single part of this journey for the next 2 years. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to get started. So with that said, by supporting this channel, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog and Moon. Till then, see you guys and girls next time.